Yeah, thank you, Hans. Uh, First, I'd like to compliment and also congratulate the authors and the team for developing an innovative methodology for this. Uh, the I feel this is a unique, quite a unique exercise. We call it a participatory modeling, kind of new term. And also, it's not an easy job. As they explained, a lot of work has gone into it, and also it's work in progress. So my comments are more, general, and also some specific comments. And also, I will briefly talk about the, what is happening in the nutrition side, particularly, the recent ideas, which will also in the next panel also we are going to discuss. My few general comments are that in the last conference at Addis, there were some comments on the presentations at that time, like role of risks in the scenarios are not taken into account, missing role of nutrition, the health child mortality in the models, and need to broaden the stakeholder group to non-European, the private sector, business, and also involve people affected by food insecurity, for example, Africa or South Asia. So I hope some of these comments taken into account in the your stakeholder workshops and all. Particularly on nutrition, there is so much work on now. The Global Nutrition Report, the ICN2, second International Conference on Nutrition, it says cost of malnutrition is $3.5 trillion. I mean, the huge the cost. So in this paper, the approach seems to be availability and access, but nutrition is also covered. But I feel more emphasis may be needed on nutrition side, given the recent increasing importance on nutrition. And the Global Nutrition Report also says improving nutrition status is central to attaining the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. They feel that nutrition is the central one. And they estimate new benefit cost ratios for scaling up nutrition in 40 countries. So the median benefit cost ratio is 16. That is, you invest every dollar, you get $16 return on nutrition. So this is based on 40 countries data. And also they are competitive, these cost benefit ratios, compared to investments in roads, irrigation, and health. So I'm stressing the importance of the nutrition here. My next point is on gender. Because I feel the gender is the men's role particularly is very important from the food security and nutrition point of view. So how do you capture this? Because as I said in the last conference, why India has high malnutrition numbers even compared to sub-Saharan Africa, because the role of women empowerment, the intra-household is more unequal in South Asia compared to Africa. So how do you capture the gender impact more specifically? And also in this general one, apart from agriculture policies and all, macro policies also important. Of course, in CGA models, one can capture the macro policies, because, for example, the non-agriculture policies sometimes are more important for food security and nutrition as compared to agriculture policies. For example, trade or the manufacturing sector. Suppose you have more manufacturing, you can shift people from agriculture. So that's one general comment. And similarly, social protection policies, because that's also an important one. If you see that successful countries, they have introduced social protection. And coming to specifics, stakeholder workshops, you have mentioned very careful selection and all. But of course, the number is 15 to 20. In the number you have, so whether it is representative or something one has to see. Although you have done careful selection, And also particularly the government and authority, I don't know who are these people, because from the political economy considerations, they're the important ones, because they take the policies, like politicians and others may be more involved, so that it's easy to sell the policies for them. International visions and European visions are quite good, but still we have to do some work on the roadmap, of course. In fact, the recent Global Food Policy Report gives a survey of 1,000 individuals representing 35 countries, NGOs, academics, government policy sectors. But this is perceptions on the current food security and nutrition, and also the policies. But nearly 2/3, 70%, are dissatisfied with the global, the current situation and the food policies done by the countries, and also at the country level as well as the global level. On drivers and scenarios, as I said, maybe more nutrition indicators or drivers may be necessary. In food security scenarios, he said 4 scenarios, which I like the 4 scenarios. But on inequality, there are, regarding environment and climate change, there are 2 types of inequalities. One is inequality between developed countries and developing countries, because as you know, the consumption patterns of the developed countries are, for example, US is almost 10 times to that of India, if you see any indicator, electricity or any other indicator. But luckily there is a landmark deal between US and China to cut greenhouse gas emissions. The US is committed to curbing carbon pollution by 26 to 28%. Hopefully they will do it by 2025. But another inequality is within countries, because countries like India and all say that our per capita emissions is quite low. But if you see the consumption patterns of the rich and middle class in India, they are equal to the developed countries. So there is inequality within countries. So we have to tax the rich and middle class of these people to reduce the emissions within developing countries. Of course, developing countries feel that a combination of conventional development and ecotopia may be needed. For example, India needs 15 million jobs per year. So you can't you need manufacturing sector. So there, overnight you cannot have green manufacturing kind of thing. So it's a gradual conventional development plus the green kind of thing. So it may take more time. But some of the countries with the conventional development reduced malnutrition, like China, for example, with agriculture-led strategy and manufacturing, they reduced drastically undernourishment there. And similarly, Brazil with social protection policies. So with the conventional development also, they reduced the malnutrition. But then the question of sustainability and inequality, of course, has to be improved. On modeling, I don't have much because you have used this magnet LEIS model and also GTAP for some of the things. That seems to be okay. Only thing is 2050 scenario. I mean, anything can happen in the next 30, 35 years. The long-term scenarios, of course, climate change, you need long-term scenarios, because one of the most important uncertainty is technology. I mean, technology can improve, for example, water, technology or energy technology. It can increase the yield levels much more, or total factor productivity. So, and what about GM crops? Because this can also transform yields. So you have not mentioned probably the GM technology thing. And my last point on this modeling is that some of the large countries like India, China and all, even a province is like a country. I mean, so you need probably, if you do later, within the large countries, because at a country like India with 1.2 billion or the China with, so at macro level it may not be. So within scenarios, I mean, that later can be taken up. On the governance, governance is the most important thing. I don't know how you bring to the governance. You also mentioned there into the models, the governance aspect. Otherwise, the key options identified, I like the key options. And the road mapping, of course, is now final. Stakeholder workshop is coming. So in the end, I will just briefly touch the recent developments again to highlight why they are important. Also for the recent developments in India, because the numbers are huge. So new numbers in India show that the percent of under 5 stunting declined from 48% in 2004-5 to 39% in a recent period. So almost 9 percentage points decline. It's important because in absolute terms, it is 14 million children stunting decline. I mean, increase. They come out of the stunting problem. Whereas European Union said the 7 million they will concentrate in the next decade or so. So this number is very important if you believe the recent numbers on India. Because India has such a large population and high stunting prevalence. As I said earlier, the 48% earlier was almost double to the of sub-Saharan Africa. So what happened in India? So several factors are responsible. So key points, it may be useful because it's several factors: the agriculture growth, economic growth, and then sanitation, which is a very important factor, and drinking water, and the social protection programs like public works programs, public distribution system. So all have contributed for this decline. At global level, there has been increased recognition on the severity of micronutrient, malnutrition, or the hidden hunger, but also overweight and obesity, because that is also you have to consider now with obesity increase. Also, there is greater understanding of role of water, sanitation, and hygiene for the nutrition as well as sustainable development goals. More important thing is it attracted the political attention in 2014, European Union and many other, which is very important factor. So basically, the first challenge is we must end hunger and malnutrition, but second challenge is you have to do it with sustainability, because you can end malnutrition and all with unsustainable methods. So, but it will demand more strategic use of resources, stronger responsibility, accountability, and more creativity from all of us. So with this, I thank you very much.
Thank you.